Joining us now for more on what's going on is the former chief of staff of the National Security Council and former CIA analyst Fred Fleitz, and the former mayor of a city called Shiloh in Israel, David Rubin, back with us this morning, back in Israel. I know you were with us last week here in studio in New York, so I'm glad you got back safely. Good morning to both of you. Fred, I would like to start with you. This all started when police tried to get control of protesters at the Al-Aqsa Mosque on the Temple Mount, very famous mosque. Do we know why this all started?
Yeah, the reason it started is the Palestinians saw an opportunity. They see Israel's between governments. They see Netanyahu may be on the way out. They see a weak American government under Joe Biden that's trying to appease Iran and is anti-Israel. But the most important reason is that the Palestinian Authority wants to again postpone elections and use this violence for cover. There would be protests against the Palestinian Authority, against Abu Mazen, and he's using this to not hold elections, and this whole thing is thus spun out of control.
Okay, David, for our audience here in the States who might, they might know that the situation is not good over there right now. Things got worse yesterday. The terrorist group Hamas launched at least 45 rockets from Gaza, and Israel then responded with airstrikes overnight. They might have killed up to 20 people. We don't have confirmation on those exact numbers yet. But how bad is the situation right now?
Well, the situation is certainly heated up. There's no question about it, and it could be expected. Look, we just came out of the corona pandemic in Israel, pretty much finished at this point, and things are going back to normal. Unfortunately, this is part of our normal, that there is Palestinian terrorism on Israel. But the very fact that they were able to hit a couple of sites very close to Jerusalem, well, that indicates that they have been working very hard on their missile capability. And because of that, it's really forbidden for Israel, from the way I see it, it is forbidden for Israel to allow them that time to improve their missile capabilities. We need to hit them now, we need to hit them hard, and we need to hit them in a very disproportionate way. That is the key word here, David, disproportionate.
David, do they have the technology, you think, to actually hit within the walls of the ancient city if they wanted to? Are they doing this deliberately?
They absolutely do. Perhaps they, in terms of hitting their targets, they're a little bit off, but they definitely have the capability because they hit Mavaseret Zion, which is a small city just north of Jerusalem. That's very, very close.
Yeah. Fred, this week, one of the most important weeks for Palestinians and Israelis. Israel was celebrating Jerusalem Day just recently, and that day, this marks the end of the 1967 Six-Day War. We probably haven't seen a conflict like this in quite some time around Jerusalem Day, but do you think that is playing a role in this?
I think it's playing a role. There's also a neighborhood in Jerusalem, and David Rubin could talk more about that, called Sheikh Jarrah. It is an area of Jewish homes. The Palestinians who live there are refusing to pay rent, so there's an effort to evict them. And this is the Palestinians who are basically not following the law, trying to provoke a conflict. And that has also driven this violence in Jerusalem. And the Palestinian Authority is playing into that. And I mention this because this is being misrepresented in the Western media as radical settlers, Jewish settlers, trying to throw Palestinians out of Jerusalem, or some effort by the Israeli government to evict all Palestinians from Jerusalem. None of that is true. This was staged by the Palestinians, and again, the Western media is siding with them.
David, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken said the administration has, quote, serious concerns about the situation there right now. Take a listen.
It's imperative that all sides take steps to de-escalate and calm the situation. And again, I'm deeply concerned about the rocket attacks, and even as all sides take steps to de-escalate, Israel, of course, has a right to defend its people and its territory from these attacks.
Challenging to hear the Secretary of State. He's got his mask on there, but Israel apparently doesn't want any assistance from the U.S. Is that correct right now?
Israel doesn't need assistance from the U.S. right now. All that Israel needs from the U.S. is to just say what he said in the first part of his sentence, which is to give Israel the right to defend itself, which we have. We don't need anyone to give it to us. The problem is when Blinken goes ahead and he says, well, we need to have calm. We need to have both sides calm the situation. No, we don't need to calm the situation. They fire missiles at our capital city. They need to be attacked, and they need to be attacked 3 times as hard. That's the only way that the Hamas terrorists are going to learn their lessons. The only way that they're going to be deterred is if we hit back 3 times as hard. And we're talking about Jerusalem. We're talking about Israel's capital city for well over 3,000 years.
Yeah.
And those places in eastern Jerusalem where Jews have settled, so to speak, those are all ancient Jewish homes from biblical times.
Yeah.
And so we're talking about our biblical heartland. We are talking about Israel's capital city, and it's clear that the Palestinians will do their aggressions no matter what, because
David,
Biden is giving them $300 million.
Thank you,
We've got to
gentlemen.
stop that.
Yeah, thank you, gentlemen, so much. We appreciate it. Fred Flights, good to see you as always. David Rubin, great to have you on once again. We appreciate it.